Well, one of the, because you talked a lot about advocacy as one of your big priorities. That word is thrown around. It's nauseating. To be honest, I'm a little nauseated when I hear that word. But tell us how you feel now. Really.
Would you feel better if it were activism instead of advocacy?
Well, I'll tell you where you'll hear where I'm coming from. I think it's time that, and I am coming off cutting my budget for the third year in a row to the tune of $300,000, which made it a 3-year run of $750,000 had been cut out of our budget. And this is a library that was well funded. We're a single institution, beloved in our community. And part of me wants to say, wake up, librarians. We need to raise our own money, and stop telling the public officials how wonderful and important we are. There is part of me that wants to say we need to get out there and figure out how to raise our own money. And so I'm asking the two leaders of this organization, we have been nice, quiet, librarians long enough, and it works to, where everybody loves us. But guess what? Not a peep has come out when I have just cut hours in the week. It's one thing when you're cutting summer Sundays and blah, blah, blah. I have now cut weekday hours, and I have heard 0. And we have people, when I tell you people love us, I'm not kidding, Carol can attest to that. And there is part of me that, because, we just started a foundation. I mean, we're a day late, $1 short, for sure. But we need to talk about this. We need to talk about the fact that the nice little librarians that everybody loves is over. It's over, period. And there's a balance. Yes, I do want my legislators to know how wonderful we are. I want the library champions. I want all that. But I also want the reality. And the reality is we need to start raising our own money.
And so, how would you put that in the form of a question to the? I don't think they would disagree with you.
I actually would disagree a little bit. Go ahead. I think it's a fundamental role of government to provide information to its citizens, and I think that while our informational role has that there are other competitors out there with the internet and other ways that people, I still think it's a fundamental role. I heard somebody talking today about how interesting it is. Journalists are losing their jobs, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So where are people going now to get information? They used to get them from journalists. Investigative journalism is disappearing. Where are people going to be able to get information? They're going to be able to get it from government-funded institutions where the information is publicly available. So I'm a big believer in private fundraising for some things around libraries, but I will fight to my death that this is a government function and that we need, I agree with you, we need to stop being so nice. Nice, as I said, we're nice to have. We're nice librarians, we need to start making a lot of noise. We need to start having more self-confidence that we have a service that is critically important to our constituents, no matter what the type of library is, and we need to be able to tell that story really effectively. I do, there was no, you were trying to get her to ask a question, Trevor, and I agree, advocacy is an overused word, and the reason I use it is in ALA's priorities and other things. I read somebody recently, and I always give credit when I see these things, because I think it's important to give credit when you have somebody else's idea, but this is the director of the Calgary, Alberta Public Library, and he was written up in OCLC newsletter called Next Steps, that they're talking about the ripple effect of things. And he said advocacy needs to be a lifestyle. And part of what I've been talking about in terms of what we should be doing in the area of advocacy is we need to do it year in and year out, not just when our budgets are bad. We need to be in there when our budgets are good. We need to be making sure that the right people are telling the stories, and they're telling them to the people not at a budget hearing necessarily, but when they meet them at an event someplace, they start talking about the library. What Camilla O'Leary is doing now as president, where she's talking about frontline advocacy by the staff, I think that's really important. I worked in a community where, as I said, we've got 2/3 of our library funding from a citizen pass levy. If the staff in the Multnomah County Library were not advocates, we'd never pass those levies. So what that means is you talk about the library and how the library can help people when they're checking out books or whatever it is they're doing. You connect with people at all levels, because the staff in Multnomah County, literally, their jobs were on the line if that levy didn't pass. You know, 2/3 of the staff at least would be laid off. They knew that if they didn't do well with the public. So what you said, I totally agree with, but I had to take issue with you about doing private fundraising. I think that's possible. What happens to the libraries that are in inner cities? What happens to the Patterson Public Library when we turn to fundraising as the way we do with libraries? I think what we really need to do is make government step up and do what they have to do, but also use the private sector to be able to really enhance the services that we offer.
It's a balance. It's a balance. And I think it's easy to use the word advocacy, because even though we go, oh no, not again.
I feel like it's a library word.
It
I'm
is.
not sure if people out there.
Absolutely. They don't have to know they're being advocates. You know what I mean? When I retire, I'm going to write the book, Librarianship as a Subversive Career.
Yes.
And and I've actually been approached, but by a publisher. But there's a puzzle. Advocacy is a puzzle, and what we had one notable year in lobbying for the New York Library Association, where the librarians did not speak with one voice, and then the librarians were going in, the citizens were going in, the what I call the core advocates, and then the Division of Library Development, the state ed, had a whole different message, and the legislators noticed, and we got this much. We didn't get anything that year, and so part of the puzzle piece is that we have to speak up. We have to be really loud, and ALA can do that at the national level, working with other organizations, coalitions, but it has to be in each library, and it has to be deliberate, it has to be conscious, and it has to be constant. I've written about that over and over again on my blog and on my, at every place I can, and it's absolutely, forget the quiet librarian, because it's hard. It's absolutely hard. It's like campaigning. I have a hard time talking about myself because I've spent an entire career talking about libraries. And I had to get over the fact that I needed to be up there in front and talking about libraries when I was in my 20s, and I did. And but that part of the puzzle piece has to be there. But boy, if those advocates aren't there, we are in trouble. We are in trouble, because if you cut hours and nobody says anything, that is bad. That's like one of those check moments. Like, okay, what haven't I been doing, and how am I gonna change? At Fresno State, California's budgets are terrible. I mean, ours are awful. Theirs are terrible on a scale of okay, fine, okay, awful, terrible. Theirs are terrible. And at Fresno State, the students did a sit-in. And they did at UC Davis, actually, also, because they cut hours during final week. But people knew about it because they were using the social media. The Henry Madden Library at Fresno State has a Facebook page, and their students know to go there for information about what's happening at the library and what's in this case what's not happening at the library. And it was very polite. It was nice, and there was a lot of dialogue back and forth with these students and the staff. But they knew about it. They knew about it, and so I've used social media since the word was coined. I think my 30-year-old son was quite a while ago. He said, "Oh my gosh, I just signed on to Twitter and found out my mother's been on for 6 months," and he was stunned. And yeah, well, of course I'm a librarian. We network, but we.
I'm gonna actually.
Yeah.
I'm just
Oh,
gonna
no problem.
go on and see if there's another question, but I'm also just gonna.